Sister Wives fans watched the family dynamic tragically crash and burn during the COVID-19 pandemic. Sadly, it seemed like the late Garrison Brown foresaw it coming. Kody and Robyn Brown received the lion's share of the blame, which most viewers felt they deserved. Early in the pandemic, Kody and Robyn asserted their strict social distancing rules. However, those plans all seemed to fall apart when Solomon and Ariela's nanny came down with the virus. But was that just a cover story? See what other Sister Wives fans have to say. Did Kody and Robyn Brown fabricate the nanny story? Sister Wives fans regularly blast Kody and Robyn for their sneaky behavior on and off camera. But would they actually go as far as to invent a story about their nanny catching COVID-19? Hot take: the nanny never had COVID. A Sister Wives viewer posted on Reddit. I genuinely believe Robyn is twisted enough to make this up entirely because she was panic-seeking that the family was going to transition into being together again, and this was the way to re-halt family get-togethers so she could isolate Kody again and continue to speak Kody and control his narrative. Is there actually any proof at all that the nanny had COVID? It's all hearsay from Robyn and Kody. What are your hot takes on anything Sister Wives? Other Redditors had a mixed bag of reactions. Overall, most Redditors agreed there wasn't much evidence at all to support the OP's theory. However, it did get a chuckle out of many. They also agreed that if any cast member would fake a COVID diagnosis, it would be Robyn Brown. I wouldn't be surprised if Robyn had COVID and spread it to the family. It's easy to say it was the nanny if no one knew who the nanny was. Or maybe the nanny needed a few weeks off from Robyn. I really doubt they would have made this up because it really hurt them right where it counted with all their rules. I think they would have used a different story if they were faking it. Like blame the mailman or something equally ridiculous. At that point, Christine had already complained to Kody about allowing the nanny over and not Isabel, so they wouldn't have chosen to blame the nanny and get more heat for that. What do you think of this Sister Wives discussion? Do you think there's any evidence to support that Kody and Robyn Brown fabricated the nanny contracted COVID statements? Add your own thoughts and ideas to the conversation below. Catch the new episode of Sister Wives at 10 p.m. Eastern Time tonight on TLC. Until then, follow TV shows Ace Online to keep up with the Brown family. The Sister Wives universe is known for its fair share of drama, secrets, and jaw-dropping revelations, and Kody and Robyn Brown never seem to shy away from being at the center of it all. However, in recent seasons, their behavior surrounding the COVID-19 pandemic has raised eyebrows and left fans questioning whether the couple made up the concept of nanny COVID as a way to create a barrier between their household and the rest of the family. The idea is simple. Kody and Robyn used the pandemic as a convenient excuse to push away Kody's other wives and children under the guise of protecting their bubble, while simultaneously allowing their own children and private lives to flourish without any interference. So did Kody and Robyn create the idea of nanny COVID, or was it just an unfortunate consequence of a situation that spiraled out of their control? Let's dive into the timeline, the tensions, and the potential manipulation that has fans calling out the couple for their questionable actions. The emergence of COVID and the family's response. The COVID-19 pandemic changed life as we knew it, and no one, especially large families, could escape its impact. The Brown family, known for their unconventional polygamous household and multiple households under one roof, faced a unique challenge. As states shut down, quarantines began, and the world went into lockdown, the Browns were forced to rethink their way of life. For most families, the pandemic meant isolation, new safety measures, and a shift to how they interacted with one another. However, for Kody and Robyn, it seemed like the pandemic was an opportunity to redefine the boundaries within their already complex family structure. Kody, who had already been struggling with strained relationships with his other wives, Mary, Janelle, and Christine, took the pandemic as a chance to impose new rules around family interactions, many of which benefited Robyn and her children. In particular, Kody began to impose strict restrictions about who could visit whom, how they interacted, and who was allowed to be in close contact with whom, all under the justification of preventing COVID-19 from spreading. On the surface, these rules seemed reasonable given the nature of the pandemic. But as the months went by, many fans began to notice a growing inconsistency in how the rules were being applied. The role of Robyn and her children. While Kody had already spent more time with Robyn and her children than with his other wives, the COVID-19 pandemic seemed to bring this dynamic into even sharper focus. During the lockdown, Kody and Robyn's household, which includes her children from a previous marriage and their own biological children, became a more insular unit. Kody, who had previously been splitting his time between his wives, began spending more and more time at Robyn's house, citing safety concerns and the need to maintain their bubble in the midst of a global health crisis. However, this focus on Robyn's household and children raised alarm bells for viewers who were already skeptical of Kody's favoritism toward her. Fans quickly began to notice that while Kody was enforcing strict quarantine measures with his other wives, he seemed to be making exceptions when it came to his time with Robyn and her children. The couple continued to interact closely, even though they had claimed to be adhering to the same COVID safety guidelines. It became clear that Robyn was operating as though her children were Kody's only priority. Despite the fact that the other wives and children were affected by these strict new rules, Robyn's family appeared to be exempt from the same level of scrutiny. Viewers began to speculate whether Kody was using the pandemic as an excuse to further distance himself from his other wives and children, while simultaneously focusing all his attention on Robyn's household. And that's where the term Nanny COVID began to gain traction. Did Kody and Robyn make up Nanny COVID? The idea of Nanny COVID refers to the notion that Kody and Robyn used the pandemic to create an environment where they could isolate themselves from the rest of the family, all under the guise of health and safety. It's as if the pandemic gave them a get-out-of-jail-free card to distance themselves from uncomfortable family dynamics without facing any real consequences. The term itself came to life after the family's own explanations of their behaviors started to seem inconsistent. Kody was obsessed with keeping his household safe from COVID-19, even going so far as to criticize his other wives for not following his strict rules. At one point, Kody's exasperation with Christine and the children, particularly for not strictly adhering to his social distancing protocols, was evident. Yet when it came to Robyn's house, Kody didn't appear to enforce the same level of caution. Robyn's children were still coming and going, and Kody spent long hours with them. For many, this was a glaring contradiction. It was almost as if the rules were designed to create a situation where Kody could justify staying away from his other wives and children, while still maintaining a sense of closeness with Robyn's family. It wasn't just about COVID safety. It seemed to be an emotional and strategic distancing technique. Kody and Robyn's relationship, which had always been the most secure in the family, grew even stronger during this time, while the relationships with the other wives frayed even further. What made the situation even more puzzling was that Kody had no issue going to Robyn's home or allowing her children to come over, even when the rest of the family felt isolated. It was as though the pandemic allowed him to justify his actions in a way that no one could argue against. When Kody and Robyn began to use the pandemic as an excuse for furthering their own isolation from the other wives, the idea of Nanny COVID became something fans latched onto. The aftermath. Was it all just manipulation? Whether Kody and Robyn truly made up the concept of Nanny COVID is still a matter of speculation. But what's undeniable is that their behavior during the pandemic seemed far from innocent. The strict rules they enforced, especially when it came to distancing themselves from the other wives and children, felt more like an excuse to further their own agenda, rather than an honest effort to keep everyone safe. Looking back, it's clear that Kody and Robyn took full advantage of the pandemic to create a reality where they could justify their emotional and physical separation from the rest of the family, all under the guise of public health concerns. But for the other wives, it became increasingly evident that their exclusion from Kody's life was not about safety. It was about favoritism, power, and control. In the end, whether it was a manufactured excuse or a convenient truth, the impact was the same. The divide between Kody, Robyn, and the other wives only deepened. Fans can't help but wonder whether Kody and Robyn will ever truly come to terms with the way they manipulated the pandemic to suit their own needs, and whether their relationship will ever truly be equal among the wives. For now, Nanny COVID remains one of the most controversial and contentious chapters in the Brown family's ongoing saga.